Hello again. Thank you very much, first and foremost, for the feedback. You all said very complimentary things, and it's nice to hear. Especially the guy who said he liked my biceps. Compliments will get you everywhere. Was it the right sector? Yes and no. I mean, on one hand, it was the right sector because I ended up building a successful business out of it. But on the other hand, I could have picked a different sector and maybe I would have had 10 times the success. Who knows? The important thing, I think, is not to pick the right sector. I don't think that's the right way of looking at it. I think a much better way of framing that exact same thing is looking for the right sector for you. And in order for you to be able to understand what the right sector is for you, the right industry or the right whatever, the most important thing is that you understand yourself. If you have a poor understanding of yourself and what makes you tick, you're not going to be in a position to pick the right industry. So you need to know how extroverted you are, for example. Because if you're going to be a sales rep, like if part of your business is basically knocking on people's doors and trying to sell them whatever it is that you're trying to sell them, if sales is going to be a very important part of your business, and you're always going to have to be constantly selling, which is different to my business. My business is all about repeat business. I get a customer, and provided I don't make any mistakes, that customer will keep coming back, and my orders are weekly. So most of my customers get a delivery once a week, if not twice a week, and have been doing so for years on end. So it's recurring business. I don't have to ring up my customers every week and sell them my produce. They know what it is, they know how much of it they need, and they just place their orders on a weekly basis. However, if you're selling something that are once-offs, like, I don't know, cars, somebody's not going to buy a new car once a week. So you're going to have to keep selling all the time in order to shift enough cars to have a successful business. But if you're an introvert, if you hate talking to people and hate talking to strangers, well then a sales heavy industry is a bad industry for you. It's not a bad industry. There's nothing wrong with any industry. There's nothing wrong with any business. And there's nothing wrong with you. But you can be paired poorly to the business that you've started. So ideally you would be doing a job or setting up a business that didn't run contrary to who you are as a person. And the better you understand yourself, there's a Greek maxim, know thyself. The better you understand yourself, the better you'll be able to pair yourself to the right sector or the right industry. Next question was, have I had any failed ideas? Boatloads of them. I have no failed businesses because I never started any of the ideas that I had, but I had loads of different ideas, loads of them. One of them that springs to mind, which I think actually did come about, it was made by somebody else. I got the idea when I was buying phone credit back in the day, something that maybe your teacher might explain to you, because I don't know if people of your generation know what it's like to go and buy phone credit in a shop. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, who knows. But my idea at the time was that you would go into a shop and you would ask them for a disposable credit card number. So if you wanted to buy something online but you didn't have a credit card, what you'd be able to do is go into a shop and say, hello, I'd like to buy a disposable credit card number, please. They'd say, okay, to what value? You'd say €50 because the thing you wanted to buy online cost €50. They'd say, no problem at all, that's €51, please. You'd give them €51. They'd give you a number which was essentially a credit card number with an expiry date and the 3 digits on the back of the card on a receipt printed out on a piece of paper, but it was disposable. You could only use it once, and once it was used, it was expired. Now I think they might be called 3V cards. I think that has been invented since and is a thing, but I certainly had the idea for this, I don't know, 20 years ago, more. Why didn't I go ahead with it? I didn't have the expertise. I didn't know anybody who did have the expertise. And therein lies, I suppose, the advice that I give to you in relation to the business that you set up. Start a business that you can start. If you need €100 million of investment to start your business, well then start it. if you have 100 million. But if, like when I started my business, for a start, it wasn't a business really when I started it. It was a lot of trial and error. So I got old yogurt pots and fruit pots, and I put compost in them that I bought in my local supermarket. And I bought some seeds from a local plant shop or wherever it was. And I started growing them, and I put a light over them, and it didn't really work that well. And then I put a different light over them, and then it worked well. And then I started thinking about, if I was to scale this up, could it work? And there was months on end of trial and error in a part-time basis. So I didn't commit to setting up a business and then start all this. I was working another job and tricking around with this in my spare time, and it got to the point whereby after a couple of months I kind of thought to myself, I'm actually onto something here. This could actually work. And I made my first sample. I brought it to a prospective customer of mine, a food buyer, basically, a food service food buyer. Rang him up, asked him would he be available to meet me to show him a sample. He said, yeah, I'll meet you. No skin off his nose. And I showed him what I had grown, and I had essentially copied what I knew was already in the marketplace. And he took one look at it and kind of went, yeah, looks about right. Didn't really care. And as it happens, he had trouble with his current supplier, and he basically said, I'll take 60 of these off you a week. And I went, okay. And he said, right. And we agreed a price, because he just told me I had to charge what he was already buying it for. And then I drove home wondering where the hell was I going to get 60 boxes from. I had no idea. So I drove home and I bought more lights and I bought more compost, and I sold them for, let's say they were €6 a box, and he wanted 60 of them. So €360 is the amount of money that I made on that sale. It cost me about €2,500 to buy all the lights and to buy all the compost and to wire it all up, and I had to work through the night to get it done. But I just got it done. You just have to do these things. But the key point is, I was in a position whereby I could buy lights and I knew how to wire them, and I was able to do it. So in relation to setting up your own business, or if you have aspirations of setting up your own business, do what you can do. Don't be overly concerned about setting up something that you can't start. Now, there's a way around that. You can set up what's called a business plan, and you can get a chief technical officer to design how you're going to do it, and you can get a chief financial officer who's going to work out how you're going to get 5 million quid in funding. So there are two basically different ways of setting up a business. You can A, do it all yourself, or B, you can get a lot of help. So that's on the failed ideas, loads of them. What is the next one here? Yeah, just a quick thank you for your kind words for the people who made the videos. And I have a piece of advice for the people who didn't. That's something you need to work on. If you don't have the confidence to put yourself forward and sit in front of a camera and speak your mind, that's something that you really need to work on. Because the time is going to come, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, the time is 100% going to come whereby you're going to have to pick up the phone, make a meeting with somebody, arrive, introduce yourself, shake that person's hand, look them in the eye, and need to be confident. Because people have a sixth sense for weakness and nervousness, and that doesn't bode well if you're looking to start doing business with somebody. And you don't want the first time that you put yourself out there to be in a meeting. So the more opportunities that you can grab, that you can take to get out of your comfort zone and put your best foot forward, the more of those that you can do before you actually have to, the better you will be at putting yourself forward and getting out of your own way and building a little bit of confidence, because you're absolutely going to need to be able to do that. You don't have to be perfect. What you should aim for is better than you are now. So somebody who was willing to sit down in front of the camera and record 10 seconds of them stuttering and stammering and being all nervous, that is way better than not being able to do it in the first place. So I think I've taken up about as much as your time as I'm allowed. Thanks again for the bit of feedback, and I'll chat to you soon.